Hey everyone, I'm your host, Robbie Strazynski. Thank you so much for joining us on episode number 82 of CardsChat, the friendliest poker podcast in town. Today's guest is one of the most successful players in the history of the World Series of Poker. He's one of a very exclusive group of players to not just win the main event, but to final table it more than once. He's a four-time bracelet winner who sits in seventh place on the Wsop's all-time money list with over $13.6 million in winnings. He also recently became an ambassador for Wsop.com, which just launched their online site in Michigan last month. In this episode, we will get to know him a little better. Joe Cada, welcome to the Cards Chat podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you. Good to have a chance to speak to you a little bit more in depth. Our paths crossed briefly while you were making your way to another final table of the World Series. So nice to have a good chat with you.
Thanks for having me on.
Cool. And you're coming to us from Michigan today.
Yeah, always in Michigan for the most part.
Okay, cool. I'll jump ahead, but I'm just sort of curious, obviously someone who plays so much poker, loves the game so much. Sure, there's plenty of poker to be had in Michigan and, of course, online as well. Were you ever tempted to move out of state to Vegas or, Southern California, something like that?
I can't say it hasn't crossed my mind, but I've always just had like a steady relationship where, my significant other had a good job, and I've just always been close to my family and friends. And I was always primarily an online player. So there's always games here and games online. So I've just always felt comfortable being at home. And when I travel, it's nice to travel and get away, but then it's nice to come back home when where you're from.
Pretty cool. You'd say it perhaps keeps you a little bit more grounded than some of your colleagues and counterparts?
Yeah, I would maybe, I don't know. Who knows? It all depends on your personality, I guess.
I suppose so. All right, so let's go back to the beginning. We'll cast a little bit of a wide net. Those who don't necessarily know your story, obviously it has been told over the past, 13 years since you won the main event or so. How did you first get introduced to poker, and what kind of got you hooked on the game?
I guess I was always into like poker card games and just other games like growing up, and then it really took off when the whole moneymaker boom. Mm-hmm. And I already knew like Hold'em and played with a few friends, but then everyone started playing it, and school, at the lunch tables, after school, and then after just playing with a bunch of friends for a while and always doing well, I started playing online at a really early age. I convinced my mom to put $50 on for me. I had a job at the time, and I was always really quiet, and I talked my mom into it. I'm just like, hey, this is kind of like just entertainment, like pretend like I went to the movies or something, or went out, and I'm not going overboard with this. But eventually it blossomed into building a big bankroll, and it was never like my intention to play poker for a living. It kind of just fell into my lap with my success.
You said you had a job. Was $50 a lot for you at the time? What job did you have?
No, I was a busboy. I made actually good money. I started bussing when I was 14. Started working under the table for the first year. I was a little too young, but I worked from like 14 to 17 with that job. And I remember I would, like, at one point when I was like 16, I was going through big swings online. I would, make $100 or something on the day, or $80, and I just come home and win or lose, a couple thousand. It just felt weird to keep going to work. So eventually, when I had a good 6 figures and under my belt, I quit my job and just started playing poker full time.
For sure. Does it seem real, or did it seem sort of like a video game? I know I had like summer camp jobs also when I was in my teens, and I remember making $1,000, $2,000 for the summer. That was a ton of money. But I guess when it's online, perhaps it just feels a little different.
Oh, it definitely felt different and weird. You almost didn't value it the same. I remember I was always a big gamer. I was a giant nerd. I come home, played video games. I was really good at Halo. I was like top 10 or top 20 in the world. I used to travel for some tournaments, and then there were some other games I was really good at. And then I just started putting all my attention to poker, and it was just like another video game. And just with more and more repetition, you start learning from your mistakes, what's working, what's not. It's just like a video game in a way. Right. And then you start getting new people that are just playing it for the first time or making their mistakes. And I just realized the more time I put in, the more money I would make. And I just started doing that 100%.
Unbelievable. Would you say that I mean, it's funny they say that at such a young age, but would you say, you had kind of like a hardworking kind of mindset? You don't become one of the best in the world at any video game without working hard at it, without dedication. Same also just for, having a regular job as a busboy, even though you're playing for thousands of bucks already. Does that help you? Did you feel like that gave you some sort of a competitive advantage at the field?
Oh yeah, I think just starting off, like I took the time to learn on these, there's so many different ways to learn. Mine was like these training videos online, like card runners, and a lot of those guys I was playing. So I would watch their videos and try to understand how they thought about hands and how they interpreted hands and how they broke it down, and things they looked for strength. And I would play some of these guys heads up 10, 25, 25, 50 when I was 18, 19 years old. And I mean, it was a huge, like, it was a huge advantage knowing how they thought about hands, certainly some of these players I played against. And I remember I got asked to do a few of these videos, and I politely declined just for those reasons. But I don't know, just like anything you do in life, the more time you put into it, you're going to be good at it. It's that way with anything, whatever you do. And I was able to just put so much time into poker where it was just like I had to be better than my opponent, just how much time I put into it. And it just paid off.
So, you're building this bankroll, I guess, with aspirations to, kind of like beat the end boss, just like in any sort of video game. You said you're primarily an online player. You go ahead and, you turn of age, and then you can go north of the border and actually play in, live venues for the first time. What's that experience like for you?
Well, I started getting my first live experience when I was 18. There was an Indian reservation that I would, travel to and play. Just, it was smaller, but it was fun to play, go up north and visit my friends at college. It would be at Central Michigan, and then just play at the casino there. And I got my live experience there. They had some decent games and some tournaments, like I think it's the MSPT would go there and stuff. And then when I was 19, Canada was close. So it was like a 45-minute drive, and they had a good 10-20 no max game. And that was some good experience. I made some good money in that game. And by the time I was 21, I had a decent amount of experience live, and I had a ton of experience like just online. So I felt comfortable playing live.
And to go sort of back to that question of the money feeling real or not, when it's online, even if it's the same exact stakes that you're playing for, but all of a sudden you've got chips in front of you, those chips are redeemable for actual money. Is there some sort of a change in mindset, or were you able to just sort of, keep the same focus and strategy you had online and translate that easily to the field? Was there an adjustment period?
It's weird. I guess just being comfortable always in terms of financial. And I've never looked at money as like what I can buy or how meaningful it is or how like big this spot is. So even like during the main event final table, it was just like kind of just, I looked at it more as a game and always a game, and just how do I win at this game and what's the best way to approach this game. And the money has never really felt real to me in a way. It's, I don't know, maybe that's helps me like just not be attached to it and make the right play and not be fearful of the outcome. So, but you learn from your mistakes as well. And I think it's just comfortability, just playing so much and having so much experience and being in those spots.
You hear a lot of folks, including myself. I started playing poker when I was 8. I'm obviously not a professional, but just, people who love the game. There's tons of folks out there, millions, you always say millions and millions of people are playing poker. But you obviously dove all in, you dove real deep into this from a really young age. Did you ever have aspirations to do anything else, have a, career, a profession of any other sort?
Not really. I mean, I guess when I was younger, I had, it was just all minor stuff, nothing really like where I had my heart into it. Poker was just, again, it took off at such an early age. I was able to buy my first house in cash when I was 18 and move out and just played full time from there. And I was going through really big runs where even before the main event success, I've always just felt like poker was my, destiny, just for how successful I was at it.
That's an incredible thing. I mean, like I've heard it enough times from poker pros, those who have been, seen incredible success, such as yourself, but still, as to put that string of words together, I bought my first house in cash when I was 18. Not many people are fortunate enough to say such a thing. You can learn a lot about someone in general by the people they surround themselves with. And it's pretty unique of a spot to have when you're, still a teenager, quite frankly, to have that type of money, flexibility, freedom. Who did you surround yourself with at that time to kind of keep you level-headed?
Well, I mean, I guess I wasn't the most level-headed. I had my bad spending habits. I remember I
Okay.
was like a late bloomer in terms of going out, and I didn't go to one school dance. I didn't really like. I was so quiet in school. So like when it came 18 and 19, it was like took my friends to Cancun, like brought like three people, like come on, and my trips on me. I paid for people's trips down there. We'd go to the bars in Canada when I was 19 a lot. And I remember there was this card, it was like e-passport, where it was like you just go to the ATM, it basically draw it directly from your party poker account. And I'm just like, it didn't even feel like real money. It felt like just funny money. And
Right.
I was just like, you could get $600 out at a time. I'm like, all right, we're spending, $600 tonight. It wasn't nothing. It was like a half a buy-in, not even a quarter of a buy-in. So I
Right.
was definitely like, not the best with my money, but it just felt like it was always just flowing in. And it was always so easy to make it that it was no problem, spending some here and there.
Mhm. So how did that sort of develop? I mean, we all mature, we all grow up, having all that money when you started out. And, thankfully you lived, I don't want to use the word charmed, but a very fortunate life for the last many years. At what point did that maturity level come through of like, okay, I do need to become level-headed. Let's, I don't know, did your friends change? Did people start approaching you? People see you, with money. Oh, okay, hey, I need something like, you start to learn some things about people. At what stage did that sort of happen for you? Because clearly now you're,
I,
significantly
I,
more level-headed than that.
I would say probably like my early mid 20s, maybe
Mhm.
like 24, 25 is where I started realizing, just I have to have more discipline in terms
Mm.
of friends who I'm loaning money to, who's taking advantage,
Right.
just different like maturity aspects of just, growing up and being more of an adult. I mean,
Mhm.
I thought pretty mature. Like I was never like I never had my back against the wall ever in poker. I've never really like been in a spot in poker where I needed money or needed to lean on someone, or I've always looked at it as a job and a career and been responsible with it. I've never played above my means or took shots I shouldn't have been taking shots at. But I just realized, I think at like 24 or 25 was where like I need to start investing money for the future, investing more money into like this and more than this, and just be more diversified, and get a financial advisor, and you know really start maturing.
We'll definitely dive a little bit deeper into your later career, but of course, the thing you're most well known for, winning the main event at age 21. For so many people, that's the dream, just to enter the main event. Obviously, you had already at the time years of experience. You had your bankroll built up. I'm sure you're jonesing to play for the first time. Was it, oh, I'm just going to play the main event and that's going to be the be all and all, or you had a full schedule and you wanted to kind of win everything under the sun?
Yeah, going up to the World Series, I mean, I had like the plan of playing like everything on my own, and just playing a lot of the events. But then I got approached, one of my good friends, Tony Gargano, who I played with online, who we would lean on each other and talk to each other about hands and stuff. And he played bigger at 10-20 online. He asked me if I would be interested in being back, because he was backed by Sheets and Backs, and they had a big stable, and they were interested in backing me for the World Series. And I thought about it. I'm just like, tournaments have a lot of variance, and it can get real expensive out during the summer. And do I
Sure.
want to spend 100 grand on tournaments and go for the I know it's possible. So it was like, okay, I could play cash on my own out there and just, get free rolled in these tournaments. And, if I win a lot of money, I'm okay with getting half. And if I lose a bunch, it's not like, again, it was one of those things that I always try to be responsible in terms of like never risking too much of my bankroll in a certain thing. Like I bought a house, I paid taxes, I had a few $100,000 in the bank. Like I didn't want to risk like 100K of my like 500, on the first series out there. So I got backed, and it was basically a full schedule of 2500s, 1500s, and I had a few runs. I remember 1500 like a week or two before the main. There's like a few thousand players. I was down to the final 20 some players. I'm like, all right, this is my shot to win a bracelet. Like, this is my only chance. Like, these fields are so big in these hold'em events. And I still remember the hand that knocked me out. It's kind of funny. It was I was third in chips at the time, and Elke was second in chips. And this was when Elke was winning everything, and everyone knew who Elke was. And it was blind versus blind hand where I had jacks, where I raised, and or he raised. I 3-bet from the big blind with jacks. He 4-bet, and I jammed, and he had ace 10, and he called it off, and the flop came all spades, and I had the jack spades, and he had no spade in his hand, and it was for the chip lead pot on. It was such a huge spot for me, and the river just came the red ace. My dreams were crushed. I was like, all right, I'm not winning braces this summer. I was like kind of like devastated. But cash was going so well for me out during that summer that it really didn't bother me too much. I was doing really well in the 10-25 games. I was mostly grinding. And I guess the main event, it's just, I got lucky with the table draw and ran super hot the first day.
Right.
And just coasted the whole way.
When you're saying you're running super hot in the cash games, that was going really well for you. That was on your own bankroll, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was playing 10-25 on my own in the cash games that summer, and I was playing a decent amount.
Right. You mentioned the Sheets and Backs. For those who don't know, that's Johnny Backs, that's Cliff Josephy, and Sheets is Eric Haber. I'm wondering, I guess it sounds like this was the first time you had ever been backed, not playing in your own bankroll. Does that change the way you played? Did that change the way you approached the tournament at all?
No, if anything, I felt maybe a little bit more disciplined just because it wasn't my money. I felt like first time playing for someone else's money that I really should play, everything correctly in terms of what I think is correct. But I kind of just played my game and what I felt comfortable with. And during that time, a lot of people played very exploitable. And live poker is still very exploitable. So it's kind of just like what works here, what doesn't, what works against this player, what doesn't, and just kind of played to the best of my ability.
And looking through your hand in mob, that year 2009, you had a couple cashes in preliminary events: 64th place in a $2,500 event, 17th place in a $1,500 event. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Did that help build your confidence at all? Saying, okay, now I can handle it. Again, this is still, even though you'd had so much poker playing under your belt, it's still the first World Series. It's still your first time playing against so many of the folks you had seen, since Moneymaker's been on TV. Did those cashes help?
I don't know. I would say not really, because I felt so comfortable already. Like on Full Tilt, I had a really good, I don't know if it was 2008 or 2007, where I had like 500 to 600K just in profit in the tournaments. I had almost every major. It was kind of funny story. One of the tournaments I won on Full Tilt Poker, it was the 750K, and I was doing really well online at the time. I told my two roommates, I'm like, whatever I take in this tournament, I'll split with you guys, just to give them a sweat. I'm like, I'm playing high stakes cash. Like, what's a $200 tournament, 4,200 players? I'll give these guys a sweat. And I end up winning first place, and I gave them each $50,000, and they didn't really even play poker. I'm just like, wow, that totally backfired on me.
That's incredible, lads. Are you still friends with them today?
Yeah, we're still good friends.
There you go. Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah, we took a trip to Costa Rica after that, and I think played a Poker Stars event down there when we were like 19.
Very cool. Well, it's kind of the dream. You talked to us about how you started during those first few years. You're doing well, you're seeing success, never had to dip back into your own funds or be backed before. Life's a dream. You go into the World Series of Poker for the first time and you bink the main event. It's just at 21, till today, still the youngest ever winner of the main event. It's a kind of a fascinating spot to be in life. Again, so many of us, just the dream is to be able to play the main event, just to have 10K and take a shot. And you've quite literally conquered poker's highest mountain right from the get-go. How do you stay motivated to keep playing? Like, what else is there left to do when you've already done everything there is at age 21?
Yeah, I think motivation is a tough thing. Like, I noticed like my competitive spirit was kind of took a backseat. I remember just when I was a teenager, when I was 20, I just played all the time, played put in the hours. I was so determined to be really successful at poker and prove everyone wrong. And it was like I didn't fear anyone at the felt. Like I would sit down and it wasn't like a bum hunting like mentality. It was like, okay, let's go. Like if you want to play, let's go. I'd sit down at the heads up tables. I would play anyone. I wouldn't dodge anyone. And it was all about getting better. And then after winning the main event, I realized like now I'm flying, I'm traveling more, I'm going to these destinations, I'm not putting in the hours. And then when I am home, I'm doing other things and, enjoying other parts of life. And it was more of like, now I have more of a sense of a balance. When I was like a teenager, when I was 20, it was just like, I almost played an unhealthy amount where I couldn't keep putting in that same time. And it didn't feel the same after winning that kind of money too, because it's like, why am I putting in this much time for, this amount of dollars? And I never really cared about money. I never wanted to like see how much I could accumulate. It was just about, making a good life for myself. And now once I won the main event, that already happened. And so now when I go back and play poker, I don't have that same like, okay, I'm going to play anyone. I'm going to, let's go. It's like, okay, these guys know a lot. They've been playing nonstop. I haven't been. So now it's like I play 6 max. I'll probably play smaller than I did before, 5, 10, 10, 20. But it's just like I play because I really love the game. I enjoy the game. I'm still successful with it, but I'm aware that, there's really good players out there, and I'm not the same player I used to be in terms of the time I'm putting in.
Sure. So let's say, I don't know, you didn't hit, I don't know, whatever it was, a set of deuces, or you don't hit, let's say you don't win the main event.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to go back to the specific. Let's say that doesn't happen. You go back to Michigan, for anyone, winning the main event is life-changing. Lots of final tablists out there, November Niners at the time, but there's only one winner each year. Let's say you don't win the main event. How does life not change? In other words, like, do you continue on doing exactly as you had done? Do you have that a little bit more hunger? What would have been sort of the alternative path for Joe Cada had you not had the banner hanging in the Rio?
I'd probably say, in all honesty, I'd probably be better at poker than I am. Like I still think I'm a winning poker player and I'm good at poker and just all the time I put into it. But I think I'd be a lot better. And I think I'd be really playing the high stakes still, like the nosebleeds and like the bigger games and being really competitive, just because I would have probably came home more determined and just, kept grinding. But it's like, once I won that, it was, now I got to be an ambassador for Poker Stars, and I'm getting paid by Poker Stars. And I still played a decent amount on Poker Stars. I still challenged. I mean, I remember the first year or two, I was still, that same person. But as time progressed, as years went on, I would take, a couple months break, then really go at it hard for a couple months, take a month break, take a couple months break, and go at it. And I've just been trying to have a good balance with it now.
For sure. Again, this is a question I'm sure you have been asked before, but the GOAT is the GOAT. When you're sitting at the final table, you had been playing, rest in peace, Darvin Moon. He was the runner-up finisher. Phil Ivey made that final table. At the peak of his powers, when one can still say, he's obviously still top 10 money list in the world, still winning everything right and left. At the same time, you had a front row seat to it. Is it a case of, was there any intimidation whatsoever, or it's like, well, he puts on his pants the same way I do?
I mean, it wasn't intimidation. It was more of like an honor playing with them. And it's like, someone that you so much look like, like I respected him as a player. And it was just like, I was the guy that just, you watch TV, oh, standing your ground, it's Phil Ivey. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm playing with these guys now. But me, again, I was so comfortable, like just with a game of poker, for how much time I put into it and how successful I was at. I was like, okay, let's go. You play your game, I play my game. This is what he's probably thinking of my game. Like, how do I combat? It was just kind of like winning. How do I win? Like, what's the best way to approach it? So I remember one hand I played against him where I could tell, like, or at least it felt like it, that I felt like he was just itching to like re-raise me, because I was so aggressive this is probably like, I don't know, maybe like 50 players left or 40 players left. And this hand made it on TV. And I was just playing a lot of hands, and I felt like he was never in a position to like really, re-raise me or play at me. I was just waiting for it to happen, and he had the right stack. I remember I opened this hand 10-7 suited, and he 3-bets me for like a quarter of his stack. I'm just like, man, I just feel like he's just so full of shit here. Like I just feel like he just can't stand this young 21-year-old like raising so many hands. And I wanted a 4-bet jam so bad. I'm just like, this is such a bad hand to do it. And it looked like I'm just coming after him. And I'm just like, I just felt like I could just tell that I'm like something, like I felt with like you, I would always go with my intuition at that time. Everyone played on their intuition back then. Like it wasn't like, how do I play like the best, like a computer. It's just like you went with your gut a lot. Yeah, it wasn't like, how can I play less GTO? And sure enough, he had 3-2 offsuit when they showed the coverage. He 3-bet me with the 3-2 offsuit. I'm just like, I freaking knew it. Like I just knew it. Of course it worked, and he knew it because I was, playing again a lot of hands. So that's gonna get through it. That's gonna get through a lot, and I knew that.
He does have that reputation for a reason. Here's curiosity, you go ahead, you pick the score of a lifetime, and obviously the bankroll shoots up, which is huge. Did you have some sort of a desire to play on like a high stakes poker or something like that, and face off against those guys just for houses and for that sort of thing?
I played on one of those shows. I played on, I think, 2 high stakes shows. One was the Poker Stars show,
the big game, right?
The big game. I played. It could have been one of the biggest pots I ever played. It was a really tricky hand against Barry Greenstein where I made a bad fold against him. I still remember the hand. He like raised. It was pot limit pre-flop, no limit after flop, and he opened the button with Queen Jack. I 3-bet pot out of the big blind with kings like 5,600. He called. The flop came Queen 9-7, and we were playing really deep. And in hindsight, I kind of wish I would have checked this board. 3 streets may be difficult to get, and I could have played, check call mode and pot control and just pick off bluffs and played it that way. But instead, I decided to lead, which put me in a bad spot because I made it like 69 or 7K into like 10 or 11, and he now raised to 23 on a Queen 9-7 board, and I called, and then the turn brought an 8, running a flush draw, and he bet like I think 50 or 60K, leaving himself like 40K. And at that point, it's like I'm just dead in the water if I put it in here. He has 2 pairs set straights. I mean, it just seems really bad. Like if he's like, what kind of bluffs does he have? Maybe like I have 2 kings in my hand, so even like King Jack or King 10 is tough to have. And I ended up folding, and he had Queen Jack suited, so he turned like a flush draw and had a gutter and top pair and just pushed me off kings. And could have been like a couple $100,000 hand, but I don't know. I guess I didn't play enough hands on that show to really see like a long-term result. Like I think I lost a little bit in the short term, but I only played on like 1 or 2 of those shows.
Yeah, I've had conversations with dozens upon dozens of professional poker players, and this is not the first time I've heard a pro break down a hand, but you break it down like it literally occurred to you 3 hours ago. Like the attention to detail is just astonishing. I'm trying to picture like what does Djokovic, does he remember the exact 30-stroke rally against Federer, and like what is it that like enables that sort of recall with such attention to detail, the stack size, his position at the table, and his image at the time. This is what, 10 years ago at least?
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's weird because I have a really bad memory in general, but again, with cards, I can remember such detail and good hands. I remember playing with Eli. We were playing the old owner of Poker Stars. We were playing
Isai Scheinberg.
We were playing a 25K event in Bahamas, and like the next day he ran into me or something, or it was one of the breaks, and he's like, "Can I ask you about a hand?" I'm like, "Sure." And he started talking about the hand. I was like, "No, the hand that you played actually went like this." And I remember the exact hand he played in the details. He's like, "It's like, how did you remember that hand that I played? You weren't even involved." I'm like, "I don't know. I just can remember hands really well." And he's like, he thought the same thing. He's like, "That's incredible." He's like, "I was surprised you actually remember that." And I can't tell you why. I think maybe it's just the competitive nature in me of just obsessing about certain hands that, I felt like maybe I misplayed or I could have played better. Or I guess that's what makes you better or good at poker, is just trying to really, dive deep into how you can be better.
Really cool. I mean, I didn't prepare this question, but since you did name drop him, Yishai Scheinberg's a name, we're all, it's obviously a very private individual. It's rare to get any information from him about him. What could you tell us about him from your interactions with him and having known him as a very special person in the poker world?
He was extremely soft-spoken, one of those guys that you never could tell had money. Never, you dress completely casual. I remember when he played the 25K event at my table, no one knew who he was besides me at the event. He was gone for probably 70% of it. He was just walk around doing business stuff or being gone. He'd come back and leave for a while. And I remember a few whispers at the stage, like, who's this guy that can just leave a 25K and blind out? Like, it's crazy, And he was just a really nice guy. He was a family guy. I think poker was really blooming. He was doing the best to, make poker grow, and it was like a family business, and that's what was like the height of poker, honestly, when he owned Poker Stars. And then once it became corporate, it's all the changes, and how can we make a nickel or dime here and there.
A little bit, obviously a little bit different. That just was very cool, very fascinating to have that sort of front row seat. That's great. I love those great stories. All right, back to your World Series of Poker prowess. You won bracelet number 2 in 2014, but in those intervening years, you made a couple final tables. You had a runner-up finish, you had a 4th place finish. Disappointing? Or what sort of reactions do you have there of or are you feeling on top of your game? Did you luck box your way there? What's that doing to you, those sorts of finishes?
Well, 2010 was a strange year because I didn't do anything in 2010. I got killed in 2010 in the World Series. That is, I remember what I was doing. I'm like, this ain't working. I'm playing too many hands. I'm getting played back at. This style is not working for me, and I really had to change my approach. And once I started changing my approach, I started having better results. But I knew how MTTs worked. Again, I'm no stranger to variance and how the game works and how easy it is to, just break a bunch of tournaments in a row and get cold. So that was one of the reasons that I got back to the first year. I knew 2010 could happen. That could happen in 2009 or whatever, or 2018. But, some years you catch hot and get hot and things go your way. And I don't know, it's just the way tournament poker is, I guess.
Do you feel you maybe had a target on your back as the defending champion, someone who's patched up, big sponsor for, sponsored pro, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think people did play against me differently, whether it was, they're calling me more or 3-betting me more or playing less hands because they're more fearful, depending on the player. But I think people would fold less and try to win more pots against me in general. So now you're playing in a more competitive where people are trying to win a lot more hands versus, they would lay down more often. And, my pokes here and there and my, 3-bets would work a lot more often in the past versus not so much in the, the following year.
Right. Well, in the intro, when we said, who is Joe Cada, we said you're a 4-time WSOP bracelet winner. You hit bracelet number 2 in 2014 in the 10K 6 max, which a lot of folks say is one of the toughest events, one of the toughest fields. Again, there's obviously something special about the main. We'll get to your, later 2 bracelets momentarily, but how about bracelet number 2? Anything special stick out to you about having won that or that event in particular?
Oh, I love that event. 10K 6 max. 6 max was, I love 6 max just to get to play more hands, and I'm just a 6 max player now. And I was always a 6 max heads up shorthanded player. So, and then that final table was really memorable with, Jeremy Osmus and JC Tran and a few other guys. It was a stacked final table. I think Lindgren was at the final table too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, there's a few other guys, but it was a stacked final table, and I don't know, it was fun. It went pretty smooth. JC, I remember playing a crazy hand against JC where I was, I opened queens and he 3-bet me, and I flatted his 3-bet out of position with queens, and it came king high, and it was barrel, and it's okay, is he gonna fire the third trigger on the river? And I think he ended up checking at ace jack, and I was just I don't know, it was a fun final table. There was a lot of cool hands at that table, I remember. So
is there any sort of, I don't know if it's weird how many people you get to ask a question like this, but as a main event winner, is there any sort of monkey on your back of, I don't want to be a one-hit wonder. I have to win number 2 to prove that it's not a fluke or something?
Yes and no. I mean, you hear the talk, and you know, after winning the main event, it's like, I know I was a luck box. I mean, I'm well aware that how lucky, I mean, you have to get lucky to win these things. And the hands that I thought I played bad at the final table, like everyone talked about the hands that I thought that were fine, but that I got lucky in. So I just had a different perspective on it than other people. That I mean, I knew I got lucky, but the hands I thought I misplayed was not the same in their eyes. And I had a lot of success before that, so I was confident in who I was. But again, I took things to heart. Like, you know, I was that kind of kid, and that was why I was always quiet in school. Just I would, you know, take things to heart or something, and I tried to ignore the noise. But I knew that people would always look at me just as a giant luck box for the winning of the main event. So I think winning the bracelets, I didn't feel like it helped solidify me as a player, but I felt maybe in the public it did, which is kind of stupid. But that's just the world we live in, and that's
Sure.
how poker works.
Okay, I hear that. Oh, that's a fantastic answer. And to clarify, I'm not saying that was my opinion specifically, but I just think it's again, like, how many main event winners do you get to speak to and ask a question like that? So
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty cool.
It's completely fair.
It's a great answer. All right, let's jump to 2018. You know, arguably even a more incredible summer than 2009 for you. Early in the series, you win bracelet number 3. It's the 3K shootout. Most folks, you know, it's always say, you know, like when you have, you know, 2 runouts, you know, it's always good to win the first one, right? So you start off your summer with the bracelet win. Most folks are just like, nice, I'm coasting, you know, and kind of free rolling. Again, how do you kind of sort of stay motivated to keep performing and going deep after you've already, you know, banked your bracelet, you know, for the summer?
Well, I feel like the WSP, it's almost like summer camp for me. It's like my time just to really dive into poker and play a bunch of poker, and just, it's fun because I have a lot of friends out there playing too. And, you know, we're all talking on breaks and hanging out, and I don't know, it's just really fun for me out there. So waking up, it's something I always enjoy to do. Like when I play poker, I'm simply playing it because I really enjoy it. Like I'm never going to these stops being like, oh, this is just a great stop, I need to go play this for money or whatever. I'm playing it because I really want to play poker. And for the WSOP, like even after winning the bracelet, it even makes me more excited to play the next day. So in 2018, I even got lucky to start that series off. There was like a 10K super turbo at the very beginning that I took like 9th in. So it was like I final tabled that, and then like a few days later won the shootout. And now I'm like, hey, if I string a bunch of things together, who knows how player of the year may go. And then it just started, you know, everything started clicking, and just I ran well that year.
Yeah, well, it was certainly some incredible performances there. You know, I was actually working on the poker productions team during the main event. You know, we're always on the lookout for, you know, some known names and known faces. And you see Joe Cada come up. Cada or Cada, by the way, I'm sorry.
Cada, but
Cada.
I mean, either way, I hear Cada all the time.
If you can get Strazynski right, I should get Cada right. So, okay, cool.
Like my wife, Polish, I'm guessing.
Yes, originally my dad's from Poland. Yes, well done.
My wife was Shaholski. Now,
oh, okay, great. Maybe there's a relation there. So, okay.
She would test me. She's like, "How do you spell my last name?"
I always say with an S when people don't know. So you see Joe Cada pop up there. I was like, what? Like, there's a main event winner still alive on day 4, on day 5, on day 7. Like, that doesn't usually happen. You know, you hear about Dan Harrington, you know, who did it 2 years in a row. Mark Newhouse makes 2 final tables. I mean, to go ahead and make a deep final table run, again, like you say, unprecedented, but, you know, it's exceptionally rare. What is the same to you, and what is different to you as far as your experience running through day after day, you know, on your way towards that final table versus 2009?
To be honest, they could have been 2 different kind of runs for the main event. Like in 2009, I started off chip leader of my day 1C. The next day, I think I started the day with like 189,000, and I ended it with like 191. So I literally made like 2,000 chips in day 2.
Right.
But after that, every day it was like a steady climb. I always had like double the average. I was never all in at risk till the final table of the main event. And it was just like, I just felt like I was playing a cash game for 8 days. I was playing super deep and I was just running pretty well. But then 2018, you start with 50K. I ended with, I think like 13 or 15 and got down to 8K at one point on day 2. And I was playing short for most of the whole tournament. And it was like, you get 20 big blinds, just find a good place to jam, get things through, win some big all-ins and coast for a while and played a few big spots. But I was always short stacked that whole tournament. And I remember every day it was like, man, I can't believe I made it through this day. I can't believe I made it through this day. And honestly, I ran really good in 2018.
And you had alluded to before, the level of play, the way people played, the exploits in live poker, that sort of thing, back in 2009 certainly was not the same in 2018. And we all know poker, players are constantly improving. The rate of improvement is increasing, and yet you go ahead, you navigate the minefield once again. What is your opinion of the level of play of the players who made the final table versus 9 years prior? This is again, John Sin won, Tony Miles second.
I mean, I think the level of play in the main event is not, it's kind of, I would say I had a different interpretation of what the main event was going to be like before I started playing it. I remember before I was 21, I thought the main event was going to be very difficult. It was a 10K, the main event. So I thought all the best players going to be there. And when I started playing, I was just like, a lot of these people are, bucket listers, people that, they satellited in, or they played some league with their friends, or this is what they want to do once in their life. And, you just hear so many different stories and different backgrounds of where people came from. It was more interesting and cool. And I felt like it was more laid back than I thought it was going to be. And it just seemed a lot easier than what I interpreted. And even in 2018, there was like a lot of spots where, people were making huge mistakes and just, situation. I remember one double up I had where it was like this guy, he was super loose, was not afraid to put money in, and he opened like under the gun for like 4.5x. And generally, like I had ace king suited and for like 43 big blinds, normally I would just like re-raise there. But I'm just like, this guy ain't folding. Like, he's just gonna call me. Like, he has no worries in the world. He has all the chips. Like, I've seen him do this a million times. I just shoved the 44 bigs in there, or the 42 bigs, and snap call with the ace jack off, from under the gun. So, and you get that double up. Next, you have 90 big blinds. And it's like, you have so many chips, but it's just, navigating your way through the field. Some people, they have to be, more aware of than others, and just take advantage of some of the inexperienced players and pick your spots, really.
2 days after you get eliminated in 5th place, $2.15 million. I saw the result. I'm like, nah.
Oh, the closer.
How is that possible? And you go and you win the closer, last event of the year, for your 4th bracelet. So, we've already touched upon your motivation. You clearly love the game. And, the main event is what it is, whatever your perspective may be, it's still, 12 hours a day, day after day. It's a grind. You're at the time 31 years old, something like that. So you've got plenty of energy, but still, you must be exhausted. So the question I have, though, is what is the bigger achievement to you? Having made the final table of the main event, or having won the closer just a few days after you get eliminated from it?
I'd probably say the main event, just because there's more play, and it was like 8 or 9 days of just playing. But the closer was, I remember I woke up that morning and my wife or girlfriend at the time, they were going to the pool, and I had 2 friends that were going to play the tournament. I was like, do I turn right to go to the pool? Do I turn left to go play with my friends? And I'm like, it's a turbo. It's the last term of the summer. We can go to the pool later or whatever. I'm like, I'm just going to hop in this real quick and try to spin it up. I remember the first hand I sit down, I remember sit down. I'm in the big blind. This girl opens the button. I 3-bet ace king out of the big blind. Flop comes ace 6-2, 1 diamond. I bet the flop. She calls turn king. I bet the turn she jams for like a pretty hefty jam. I call, she has queen 10 suited, so she floated the flop with a backdoor and a backdoor straight, turned the gin card for the king with a gut shot and a flush draw now, and then just the river, the flush, and she knocked me out. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna go to the pool. And I started making my way to the pool, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it one more shot. Like, this is a good tournament. It's a turbo. And literally first hand I sit down again, I get jacks, and I raise and get like 5 callers. I'm like, wow, this is gonna be a tough one to win with jacks 6 ways. Flop comes jack 10-7, and
Okay.
and I bet out, and this guy just jams for like 90 or 100 bigs. I'm like, really, does he really have the 8-9 or the 10-7? And I call, he just has ace-7 offsuit for bottom pair. I'm like, what is happening? And I double up, and then sure enough, a few hands later, someone else plays a really crazy hand against me. One of my friends, who I know, it was kind of an absurd hand, and basically put in like 5 bets and called it off with ace jack pre-flop off against me, and I held. And then I had a ton of chips and just, I don't know, just ran hot in that thing, and next thing you know, I won it in 2 days. So it was unreal.
Incredible.
Everyone was playing crazy in that tournament. I felt like everyone just wanted to leave. It wasn't even a real tournament. It felt like the hands I saw in that tournament were just crazy.
Right. Like I think, I mean, you had an interview with our mutual friend Bernard Lee, where you talked about like a kind of a unique strategy that you have for these the post limbs, the ones after the main event. People are in a little bit of a different mood, a different place,
Oh yeah,
in mid-July than in beginning of June.
oh yeah. Once people bust the main, they're stuck for the summer. It's the last tournament. People are literally just, people are such in bad moods. Like, I mean, majority of the tournament players are losing. I mean, I know what the feeling is to have a losing summer and just being out there the whole summer and the grind of it. So, but people are playing really fast, and there's no point of just getting crazy pre-flop or playing these elaborate bluffs. You just kind of just, let people punt really and be there to catch it, and hopefully your hands hold.
Right. Well, we talked extensively of your World Series of Poker success, of your prowess over the last number of years. Again, we said, one of the winningest players in the history of WSOP. It seems, again, just from looking at the hand and mob, unless you're just bricking and busting, it seems like you don't attend that many other tournaments and festivals anymore. What's day-to-day life like for you? And when you do go and decide to attend another tournament series outside of your home Michigan, what is it that makes you say, let's hop on a plane and go there?
A lot of it, I don't think I'll ever travel to a tournament by myself, to be honest. So a lot of it's like if my friends convince me to go. Like, I have a lot of friends that push me to, because they know I'm lazy in terms of traveling and playing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's certain friends I'll go with these stops, like some Florida stops are fun to go to, and I don't really travel anything international. I like the Bahamas every year. I would go play that. But other than that, I don't play a lot. I've never played a WSOP Europe before. I don't know. I guess WSOP was like the main tournament series I would travel to, and I would always get excited for, and probably because of TV and just how there's just a huge schedule, and just you can really be out there and play for 2 months. Like, I hate traveling for somewhere and busting the main event and just being like disappointed, really.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know. I guess
there's
there's
no
always
closure to win. Yeah.
Yeah, there's side events and stuff like that. But again, like from it's almost like, where do I make more money from too, online or traveling and playing these, these tournament circuits, and especially being in a serious relationship, it's how much time can I really be away from home, and do I want to be away from home for that time? And I don't know, there's just always places to play. So I was never chasing titles or bracelets or trophies, even during the World Series. Like, I won't play things that I don't enjoy playing. Like, I won't play the mixed games or limit games, even the small games. Just like, if I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to play it. And if I don't think I'm good at it, I'm probably not going to play it. So that's kind of where my mindset's always been with poker.
And what is day-to-day life like? I mean, you do have, you're fortunate to have the luxury to choose how to spend your time however you want. And then again, no matter how much money we have, time's something that we all have a limited supply of. So how do you decide how to spend it and how to prioritize, the things you do each day?
Yeah, I guess the beginning of my day, it all depends. I mean, I'm all over the map. But I've been trying to get in better shape lately. That's something I've been focusing on this last year, is getting in shape for health reasons and just other reasons in general. So I've been going to the gym every day and just waking up, maybe play a little here online, maybe study a little bit, watch, a documentary or something. My dog passed away not too long ago, but, take him for a walk or hang out with friends. My wife would always get home from work around 5 o'clock and then spend the rest of the day with my wife. So I try to get as much poker I can get in during the day and then just hang out with the wife later.
Cool. Still playing any Halo at all?
I I do have Halo. I did hook up Halo not too long ago, and I'm definitely not anywhere near the level I used to be. Halo's I play other games now. There is a game I play that I'm addicted to that takes up too much of my time that I'd like it to, and it's Dota. But I try to cut back on that. I mean, I still play too many video games for my liking.
Good stuff. Well, it's good that you always have things that you enjoy that you can spend your time doing. Just one more question about the World Series of Poker before we get into your ambassadorship. We said you got your banner hanging at the Rio. You won your bracelets all at the Rio. It's not at the Rio anymore. It's moving to the Strip. It's going to be at the Bally's Horseshoe in Paris. What's your take? You're looking forward to it. I know you missed the last couple of series, and now you've got one coming. Just a couple months away. Ready? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing a lot online. I've been having a lot of success, and I'm excited to play the series coming up. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like, so I guess it's going to be a whole new experience, and I don't know, it should be fun. It should be interesting, and it's something new to look forward to, I guess. I'm curious.
What do you have?
I'll probably play all the No Limit and PLO events from 25K and below.
Okay.
I play more PLO than anything, and I feel more comfortable in PLO today than the No Limit, to be honest.
Why the shift? I know it's important to shift gears in poker, but No Limit's where you've seen all the success.
I don't know. I guess it was when I was playing a lot on Poker Stars in from 2013 to or 2012 to 2016 or 17. I was playing a lot of PLO Zoom and No Limit Zoom and PLO. I was just really having a lot. I don't know. I just had a lot better results, and I was winning a lot more money. And I started playing more and more PLO, and last table was a hold'em, and kind of always been that way for a little while now. I mean, I still play hold'em, but I'm a better PLO player than a hold'em player, I think.
Well, you mentioned you had worn in the past. You've worn the patch for Poker Stars. You know what it's like to be an ambassador. When I saw the news that you were named, brand ambassador for WSOP.com Michigan, that was a head turner. To the best of my knowledge, I can't say I've done all the research and turned under every nook and cranny, every stone, but I don't believe WSOP.com has ever had a brand ambassador. They come knocking on your door. What does that feel like for you?
Honestly, it was a real big surprise to me. I remember getting the phone call from Ty Stewart, and we were talking for a while and just talking about everything. And he offered me the deal, and I was just like, I mean, I was taken away from it because, again, like you said, they never sponsored or had an ambassador or anything like that, and I didn't even think that opportunity was on the table. And with PokerStars sponsorships in general, they're very limited, and I'm not the huge social media guy. I mean, I realize that's really important to all these sites is, your presence in social media or anything in general in life is how much fans and how much audience can you reach. And I'm not the most public guy, and I'm not the most guy on social media. So it came to a surprise, and I really appreciated that they looked at my success at the WSOP and realized and just what I brought to Michigan and what I can help with, and the people I can reach. And I don't know, it was an honor, and I want to do my best part to help grow WSOP and do my part in the deal, to be honest.
That's pretty cool. What does it mean to you to represent that brand?
I mean, I love WSOP. I mean, I always said to a lot of people, I'm like, do you ever wonder what poker would be like if they didn't have World Series of Poker on ESPN? Like, how big would poker be? Like, how big would it be if they didn't have the money maker and the main event every year? It's like, I don't know. And I always just watched that growing up and being like, okay, I want to do that. And I was successful online. I was always excited to play their tournaments, and they've always done a good job at hosting the World Series. And they're always been about poker. Like, if you look at these other sites, even like Poker Stars, you go on there, it's like they're advertising casino play, sports. Like WSB is focused on poker. It's the game that, I love and enjoy, and I feel honored to be sponsored by them. And so far, their site's been awesome. I've had a great experience on it. I've talked to other people. They've been doing so much for the players. I mean, I know at the beginning they purposely had overlays to bring people and bring money. They just had a 100K player appreciation tournament, $100,000 for all the people that deposited yesterday. And I saw a bunch of friends and family members in that tournament, and it's just fun playing with a lot of familiar faces in WSOP Michigan. And it's been a lot of fun since they opened.
Pretty cool. And, we all know that there've been, some recent development as far as, the interstate playing pool. Michigan, I believe, will be joining up with New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I hope, Delaware, Nevada. I don't know exactly which states are part of it, but I don't know. I mean, it's always a good thing to have increased liquidity. What does it mean to you? Like, does the ambassadorship expand beyond the Michigan borders, sort of?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it's going to work in the future. But right now I'm just trying to play with all the Michigan people as fast as I can. Like the games have been good, but once it opens to interstate, there's gonna be a lot more games running. Like right now there's like 2 to 3, like 2-5 tables, and you'll get your occasional 5-10 table, and for hold'em and no limit. So I'm kind of spread across the board for no limit and hold'em and playing the tournaments. It's kind of refreshing because I've won probably 4 tournaments since they've opened, but it's all like tournaments that are very feasible to win, like 100-player fields, 200-player fields. It's not like you're playing 5,000 players and win one every couple months. So it's been fun playing these tournaments. And once they join interstate, I know there's going to be a lot more game selection. The tournaments are going to be bigger player pool, and so that'll be more exciting just for how many different tables and just how big the fields are going to be.
Happy days are here again. I got one more question for you, and then we'll move on to the community questions from our wonderful CardsChat forum community members. But before I ask that question, you did mention, I remember it's Cada 99, and I remember, when I was part of the bio team, okay, what can we look, what information? And yeah, there wasn't much, not so often on social, but, because you mentioned that, because everything you said, I do specifically want to thank you. And I don't know that there are that many besides, during your performance at the World Series of Poker, too many Joe Cada interviews out there, and I know you kind of keep it close to the vest, but whatever the motivation may be as far as ambassadorship, again, obviously someone of your reputation who has done so much, obviously doing a great job representing the brand. But I definitely want to thank you very much for this hour of your time that you've given us. It's really cool beyond just watching you on TV and sort of reading the stat sheets and stuff to get to know you a little bit better. So I'm definitely enjoying this conversation, Joe. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate you having being able to, for people to get to know me a little bit better away from the feld and know, a little bit more about me. I know I'm quiet, but I like doing this stuff. I like talking. I'd much rather do this than, I don't know, try to post on social media every day. I like doing this stuff. I just did a podcast not too long ago on Jeff Gross, but awesome. I appreciate you having me on here and wanting to talk to me.
Awesome. It's our pleasure. And, the last question I've got, again, before we move into the community questions, we've talked about this. I mean, it's funny, everything that we've talked about, I could just as easily be interviewing someone who's 50, 60, 70 years old and had that same amount of success. You've done it in 13 years, obviously a little bit, time prior to it. It's pretty darn incredible. You're just 34 years old. I say it as a 40-year-old, you say, oh, this 21-year-old kid, that sort of thing. You've got your whole life ahead of you. You've accomplished so much. What sort of goals, if any, do you still have as far as poker for the rest of your career?
I don't know. I guess I don't have any goals in poker, to be honest. Every time I go back to the felt, because I always take breaks, I always go back. It's like, can I still cut it? Can I still do I still got what it takes? And I mean, I still do a lot of studying and a lot of just watching, better players and, really sharp players. And I really take the time to still learn because I enjoy it. But every time it's it's weird. It's you think you would have the confidence after so many winning years and so many sessions, but every time it's I have to build that confidence back up. But once I really start putting in the hours, every time I'm okay, I still got it. I'm still doing really well at this. I'm still going to be continuing to do this. Just playing really diving in deep, like the cash games, like playing ton of hours, ton of hands, and just seeing the results, you feel that confidence again. It's just fun playing. I don't know. I guess I don't really have any long-term goal with poker. I don't know when it's going to come to an end, but I think I'll always be playing.
That's a great answer. And I kind of feel obligated to follow up though, as far as like, you mentioned back then, 2009, I think it was Card Runners. I think you mentioned, what does study look like these days for you? You say you're diving deep in the lab, putting in that time. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, there's few solvers out there that I use, and when they're hands I really don't know about, or like things that I'm like, I don't know what is the right play, I'll look at solvers. But again, like solvers can be really tricky in a way, because again, that's playing against perfect GTO and a perfect computer, and again, like the players you're playing against aren't playing perfect. So, and then everything's going to be weighted to a certain percentage. 75% of the times you do this, 25% of the time you do that. So a solver can be a little tricky of being creating your own balance and what people would think of you. There's so many levels to poker. It's you can just go on about it, but I really do work with solvers, and then I work with just watching the bigger games and watching better players. I do watch still training videos here and there, and I don't know, just trying to stay sharp and trying to make sure that I can learn the best I can, and what's the best way to learn.
Okay. It's just curiosity, like how much do you have another time commitment, or do you have a little bit of extra time?
I got extra time.
Okay, so in that case, we're going to try this section. We've never done this before on the CardsChat podcast. We prepared, help. Shout out to my buddy Mike, who helps me prep these questions. With the wonderful research. We want to try and do like a quick, like a lightning round. Just we got 8 questions. Just first thing that comes to your mind when you hear these. We got about 8 of these before we get into the community questions. Just curious. We'll call it a chat around.
Okay.
Joe, who is the best no limit hold'em tournament player in the world?
Chidwick.
Steven,
you gotta go quick, right?
Okay.
You said. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'll go quick. Chidwick.
Where do you rank yourself on that list?
100.
Top 100?
Top 100.
Cool. What is your favorite poker movie not named Rounders?
Oh, Rounders. I don't know. Like, you put me on the spot. I don't know any other movies. Rounders,
we'll accept that. That's
all I know.
It's that good. We'll accept that one. What is your favorite place to play poker that's not the WSOP? I think you may have answered
that. Bahamas.
Yeah, I figured you said. Okay, cool. This is something we of course always ask on CardsChat. Who is the friendliest player you've ever played with at the felt?
Either it's Phil Hellmuth or Phil Locke.
That's an interesting. Wow, I don't think I've ever heard that one. What made those 2 names jump out at you?
Well, Phil Hellmuth, one, like he goes out of his way to I'll be like a few tables over, and he'll walk over, say hello, how you doing, conversate, how's everything going with you in life. He really I don't know. It's the first time I talked to Phil Hellmuth, the first time my interaction with Phil Hellmuth, he hated me because I was this young kid that I bad beat his showman. I'm this luck sack. I'm everything he hated in poker. And then all of a sudden, he had a completely 360, and he's just so nice to me all the time. It's weird. He goes out of his way to be nice to me. And I don't know, Phil Locke was always, there's so many nice guys in poker,
right.
But those are the first 2 that come to mind.
Excellent. That's really cool. Great to hear that. And, for those who didn't know, Phil Hellmuth was episode number 4 here on the CardsChat podcast. Feel free after this one to go and listen to that one. Just a couple more. Toughest opponent you've ever faced?
Phil Ivey.
Good answer. Can't go wrong with that one. You and your fellow WSOP main event winner, Ryan Reese, are 1 and 2 on the Michigan all-time tournament money list. Can you name number 3?
Dan Heinmiller.
Wow, he knows his stats. Well done. Dan's got 6.37 million.
I think the only reason I knew that because I think Jeff Gross was talking about how he just got like switched to Michigan or something. Now he's past him or something, and he was a little bitter about that or something like that.
Very nice. And Jeff was actually episode number 1, actually, of the Cards Chat podcast.
Awesome.
And last one for you. How many more bracelets will you win before your career is over, Joe?
I'll win 5 more.
Okay. Very nice for a solid 9. That's a 9 more than I will probably win, but maybe 8 more. Maybe I'll get mine someday.
You got one, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. Folks, in this segment of the show, we turn to you guys, our Cards Chat community, to see what questions you wanted to ask our guests. And again, we do have a dedicated thread on the Cards Chat forums for this. So as we announce who our future guests will be, please be sure to send in your questions. Joe, our first questions from the community come from Crystals. Crystals wants to know, what was one bad thing that you went through after winning the 2009 main event, and how did you deal with it?
I think it was certain friends taking advantage and people stealing from me, and just realizing I had to have a tighter group of friends, and not realizing everyone who you think they are. Like, just there was a lot of people that like stole that I was really surprised, like that you wouldn't think is in their like character, but just like judging people's character better, and not really exposing yourself as much.
Eye-opening response there. Okay, interesting. And second one from Crystals, where is the one place you would love to visit to play poker that you haven't yet done so?
Australia
For the Aussie Millions or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess right now Australia is kind of weird with the whole like everything COVID and everything. But before that, I remember always like after Bahamas, I always wanted to go to Australia, but it was always like I never had 2 trips in me back to back. And just like one of these years, I'm gonna do Australia instead of Bahamas. And I don't know, I always wanted to go play the Aussie Millions and just visit Australia.
There you go. I remember once upon a time there was a World Series of Poker, APAC, something like that, and I think Negroni won a bracelet down under. So maybe they'll bring that back. You never know.
I played a WPT in South Africa before.
Oh, nice. In Johannesburg, right? I remember that. And this, yeah, very cool. Nice. Cool. Chica Bonita, our next question asker, has one for you. Joe, poker, what was this? Oh, yeah. Poker players who win the main event typically say that they invest a lot of their winnings. Are you able to tell us in general what sort of investments you prefer? Are there any particular types of projects you like to support?
Well, I have a financial advisor who he works for Merrill Lynch, and they have like a team of people. So I'm invested in so many different stocks and different strategies where I'm just spread across the board. And then also I'm investing in crypto. So really I'm all across the board in terms of investments, but for the most part, it's on the little aggressive, safer side, but yeah, I'm spread across the board.
That's fair. And I think, since you've mentioned before as well about, surrounding yourself with, the right people, I think it's safe to say, when you do have some sort of a big windfall, a financial advisor or a team of that nature is a good investment.
Yeah.
Very cool.
2018, I'm just like, here you go. Here's the money for 2018, just invest that,
Nice. Well, that's cool. That's very disciplined. I like it. And one more from Chica Bonita. Chica Bonita writes, I read that you once wanted to open a bar. Do you have any idea what style of bar it would be and in what city?
I did open a bar, and it was a charity. It was a bar / charity poker room, and I loved it. I mean, I did love it. It was a lot of stress, to be honest, but we were forced to close their doors because they changed we could have kept their doors open and try to operate as a bar, but they changed the rules around for charity poker in Michigan. It used to be each charity could sell up to $15,000 worth of chips. So in a night, we'd have 8 to 12 charities and sell a bunch of chips and have a bunch of 2-5, 1-2 games, a bunch of blackjack tables. But the casinos were getting hurt by that, and they lobbied against charity poker in Michigan. So they changed the rule where you could only have one max charity. So it went from being able to sell, $150,000 worth of chips to being able to sell $15K. And we have a 10,000 square foot building, and it was just like, okay, we can't operate as a bar poker room anymore. So I kind of just closed the doors there.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. So it wasn't the bar aspect. It was more of like running your own poker room kind of thing?
Yeah, the bar, there was a few bars there before that. It was a really nice place. They invested a lot. It was like a Roosevelt's. They invested like $1 million in the place, and I got it for like 150K, put like 100 into it. And it was just too big of a bar and too much overhead to make it as a bar for where it was at. It's just too nice and too much overhead. So the poker aspect and how big the place was, it filled up the room perfect. It was super nice and had a lot of blackjack tables. It was doing well. But once the charitable gaming license, once that went away, it was kind of like we had no option.
Cool. Well, I love these questions from you guys in the community. Kudos, Chica Bonita. You never know what sort of nuggets you'll unearth. That was a good one. And last question asker, our good friend Acid Burn FX, our creative question asker. Here you go, Joe. Hope you're ready for these. If you could call yourself when you were 15 years old for a 20-minute conversation, what would you tell yourself? Right? Aren't these great? I love these questions.
I don't know. Keep doing what you're doing, and be careful who you trust, and just always do what you love to do.
Nice. That's interesting. So you would have stayed the course, not changed anything necessarily.
Exactly.
Cool. I like it. All right. Your superpower, says Acid Burn FX, is that you can give phobias to people. What things would you make people afraid of, and why?
I'd make people afraid of going all in. So I could just constantly shove it on them, and they have that phobia of getting sucked out on, and then they just fold their hand all the time.
I love that your answer wasn't just detailed, it was instant. That was brilliant. Well done. And our final question, we will wrap this up with this one. Thank you again, Acid Burn FX. Joe, if your life was made into a movie, which actor would play you and why?
Ben Affleck, because he's been around the felt and he's been a poker player and he's a great actor, and why not? Okay, that's fair. I love it. Great. Guys, thank you everyone who sent in questions for Joe Cada. And again, a friendly reminder to all of you out there in the Cards Chat community, we would love to see you submit your questions for our future podcast guests in the dedicated thread on the forums. Guys, please be sure to give us a good review on iTunes and spread the word via your social media channels if you liked the show. Joe, again, this has been a real pleasure speaking with you. Anything else you'd like to tell our audience before we let you go? Can't think of anything. Okay, good. Well, I hope you had a good time. Thank you again so much. And thank you. Oh, awesome. And thank you all for tuning in once again into another episode of Cards Chat. I'm Robbie Strazynski. You can follow me on Twitter at CardPlayerLife. I wish you all a wonderful day.